If you need an easy way to enter and track student scores, where you can simply add whatever test, exam, or assignment, and then just quickly add however many they got correct for that assignment, and then see their score for both that assignment and overall. Be able to see that in a student report where you can quickly select a student and see their results. And finally, be able to toggle between percent, GPA, and letter grades. Then stick with me as we build this student report together. Let's jump right in. So let me show you first of all how to set up this grading scale table if you need to convert scores to letters and or grades. And so what I have here is simply 4 columns, and the first two is the lower and upper range for each level, and then the letter is associated with along with that GPA. And so now I'm just going to set up a drop down here so we can pick which one we want to use. So we can use percent, we can use GPA, or we can use a letter score. I'm just going to change this just to an arrow, just like that. And then this is good to go. So we can go ahead and maybe just pick percentage to start with, and then we'll continue on. So first of all, I'm going to set up a tab where we'll record grades. And so I'll just call this grades here. And then do a little tweaking here on the layout. And then we'll start building this out. So what we're going to do is put student names across the top. And then we'll put whether it's exam or assignment, whatever it is, down here we'll need some dates and then the total possible score. And what we'll fill out here in the middle is their actual results. So let's go ahead and start building this out. So let's just say our student name will be here. So we'll put student 1, student 2, just as placeholders here. And then over here, let's do something like the title or description, date, and total possible for the score. And then we'll start recording that data down here. Let's see what we want over here. So over here, I think we want something like overall score. And so I'll just put a little thing here to note that overall score. And then under the student 1, I think we want to be able to both record the number the correct. So like, let's say for example, it was 25 and I have 15 correct. We may need more than one column so we can actually see the result for that individual exam or test or whatever that is. So we're going to split this into 2. And then what we can do is just merge this. And maybe we'll make this a little narrower, something like this. Maybe center these. This one merge as well. So we can do something like this, put our overall score here. And then we may need to bump this down a little bit. And so let's do number correct. And then we'll do our score here. And so I'm going to go ahead and just change the font, make these a little bit smaller, something like this. And then maybe we can make these rows a little shorter, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to merge these vertically just to fill that space a little more. Maybe I'll pick some kind of color here, and you can do whatever you like here as far as colors. You can use any of these standard ones here. You can also find a custom color palette and then paste in those hex or RGB ones there. So we'll just stick with this for the moment. Let me make this one a little narrower. And then wrap this here. Maybe center these as well. And bold them maybe. Like that. We can play around with those there. Something like that. All right, so we have this here. We need a score. So the percentage score would just be the correct divided by the total possible. Center this as well. And then change that to a percentage. So there we have our percentage score. I want to be able to automatically fill this down, and so I'm going to wrap this up in here. So we could put an array formula like this and just say if E6 to E is blank, do nothing, otherwise we'll divide that by whatever in D. So something like that. And then if we add another one here and do that, that'll show up like that. So let's go ahead and select that whole column, set that percentage. There we go. And now if we do another one, now it'll fill automatically. And then if we get rid of those, it disappears. So that'll work perfect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here. Maybe something like 15 for now. And then I'll get rid of the rest of these just to make this easy to build. You can leave as many rows as you would like here. And then I'm going to do something like this just around this. Myself a little delineation here. If you don't like the borders, you can leave them off as well. So really up to you. I'm just going to kind of show you, walk you through how you can set this up. And maybe right align that there. Something like that. So now overall score, there's a couple of ways we can do this. So first of all, we could just do an average of this. So this would be a simple average. Or we could calculate the straight average, which is the sum of these divided by the sum of these. And so depending upon what kind of average you want to see here, if you want to see the simple or the straight average, in essence, the simple average highlights the individual score results more. And then the straight average like this is really looking at overall, how many correct did they get out of all the questions they're asked. So you can kind of pick, based on that logic, which one works better for you. So I'm just going to do this simple average for now. And then let's go ahead and build this out. So I'm going to do a little bit of coloring here, maybe something like this. And maybe a lighter there. I'm going to add a little gray here. And maybe turn this one to white. We can bold or not bold that. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to gray these out because these are going to fill automatically. And so at this point, maybe I'll do some grid lines. So let me hide the grid lines by going to View, Show Grid Lines. And I'm going to manually determine what I want to do for my grid lines here. So I'm going to do that using these borders. And so borders, you can set the color here, the thickness, and then where you actually want to apply the borders. And so I have this black one. I'm just going to do all the way around just like that. And then inside, I'm going to select this again. I'm going to change this color, maybe something like this. And then same width. I'm going to do just the inner borders like that. That looks pretty good. So I think I'll stick with that for now. We can, again, play around with fonts. We can play around with colors. Maybe here I need to go a little darker, something like this. Or I could go a little lighter the other way. But I think I'll stick with that for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this. And let me resize these to 50. And then I'm just going to keep doing this until I get however many students I want. So you can determine how many students you need. If you need to give yourself a couple extra, you can do that as well. And so I'm just going to go across here. And then I am seeing an error here. Look at this. So I have this array formula here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tuck this up into here. So let me do this. And this is just a little cool trick using something called an array literal. And so these curly braces allow me to both have a title right here and then use this semicolon and then append that formula right there and then close it with a curly brace. What that allows me to do is have the formula here, but to be working all the way down here. So the reason why this got screwed up, if we look here, this G is fine, but then it changed it to F. And so what I'm going to do here is add a $sign before the D's. And then I'm going to copy and paste this. And then I'm going to have to delete these real quick. So now we're running on the right track. So at this point, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 students. And so if we want to add maybe 3 more, we can just do this. Insert 6 more columns to the right. And then maybe one more just for a little border here. So let me do something like that. And then I can just copy and paste this just like that. And so I don't really need these in here at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these. And then I'm going to adjust this real quick here in a moment. So I'm going to delete the rest of these students real quick. And maybe change this one student 2. We'll just work with these while we build out the rest of it. Let me just do this. What we're going to do is put an if error around this and do a dash, just like that. And now if I do 18, 18, something like that, that works fine. And now I can just copy this one across. There we go. And now we have it all set up for 15 students. And then you can fill those students in, fill in the number they had correct, and go to town right there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the borders real quick here. So I'm gonna just do inside borders. And then I think we're gonna do a little thicker border, maybe around the outside of this. I'm gonna go here, change it to black, double thick, and outside. Here we go. And then maybe I want to make these date fields where I can double click and pick the date. I'm gonna select these here, right click, drop down, and do is valid date. I'll go ahead and do reject input just like that. And now if I double click, it'll allow me to pick a date. And then this is probably both a little too big, and I probably need a little shorter. So I'm gonna go here to format first. And I have it right here, but I'm gonna show you how to get it because it may not always show up here. But like this is what it is currently. And so if I go to custom date and time, and I'll just change this to 2-digit year. And then maybe change my font and reduce that size a little bit, just like that. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that font here, I think, across the whole thing. This one's just a little more efficient on space. And then let me go ahead and just center these here. 9, something like that, maybe will work. And then I'll just do a little bit smaller on these dates. And now we can put, for example, test 1, exam 1, and so forth. And then as those results come in, we can fill in those results for those people. And one thing you'll notice if we scroll over, you can't see what this is. And so what we're going to do here is lock these first couple. And the way we'll do that, I'm going to make this a little smaller too, is we're going to put our cursor right over here, right to the left of the A, and you can see the cursor changes. So maybe a hand on yours, maybe something different, but you can click and drag that over. And now if you scroll over, you can see that locks. Now, if you have a bunch of rows in here, what you may want to do is do the same thing with the rows and lock these first couple. So if you scroll down, these will remain in place. All right, and so this is now set up for us. And so let's go ahead and build out our student report. And so we'll create a new tab, call this student report. And then let's go ahead and do a little quick setup on our layout here. And then I'm going to do something like this. Report. Font. Size, bold, centered. Maybe we'll add a little border as well. We still have that selected there. And then what I do here, 40, so I'll do 40 and then 20. So you can adjust all this, obviously. Oops, I did 440, not 40. And then 20. And I'm going to delete the rest of these columns. So hold down Shift, click on the last one, and delete. And I can do the same thing with some excess rows here as well. Hold down Shift, click, right click, and delete rows. And so let's get some of these a little narrower probably as well. Maybe we'll try 75. We'll go from there. And then I can either put maybe a little bit of border on the outside, or I can put it in here, either way. So whatever look you like. Maybe this time we'll flip it around. Just going to kind of show you a couple different ways you can format these kind of things to make them look nice. Something like that maybe. And then what we're going to do is we need a way to select a particular student. And so we can make a drop down. And so if we click on a cell, right click, and go to drop down, and we're going to do drop down from a range, and then click on select data range, click in here, and then go to grades. And then we have all the student names right here. So we can just select those just like that. Hit OK. And then if I click back in the student report, you can see it showing up here. Now you may like these chips, or if you don't, you can go here and go to arrow. So now if I select student name, there it shows up. I'm just going to change this a little bit here. And then maybe merge these. I think we might make this a little taller because I think what I'm going to do here is overall score. And then we'll do that overall score right here. Now this I might want to make a little bit smaller. Like that, and then I'll do, what if it ends up being 80%, like that. Maybe something like this font. And then maybe we need to add decimal place there. So something like that. So maybe I'll merge these. Maybe do a border there as well. Something like that. All right. So let's go ahead and run with this for now. And then we might do some adjustments here after a little bit. So what we're going to do is actually pull this data along with however many correct answers they had, and then we'll determine their score and so forth. So what we're going to do is similar columns. So we'll do title, date, total possible, or we could do questions, whatever it is here. We'll just do questions, I guess. And then number correct. We'll do percent score, and then we'll do grade. So we call this, I guess, overall grade. We may swap that depending upon what we have selected here. So we'll show you how to do that here in a minute. So let's go ahead and do a little formatting here. So now what we need to do is pull that data back into here. But before I do that, let me just do a little quick formatting here. I'm just going to do a little bit of a border around this and then border inside. All right, so now I need to bring back that data from here. So if we have student 1 selected, we want student 1 data. I select student 2, want student 2, and so forth. So at a very simple level, I could do a query. And I could grab this data just like this. And that's partway there, but it doesn't give us everything we need, because we need the specific column for student 1, which is here, and 2, which is here, and so forth. So how would we get those columns? So what we could do is, since we have a student name here, what we could do is we can do a select column 1, column 2, column 3, for example. And that gives us those columns. So if we could actually figure out what column number this is, maybe we could specify that here. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do match. And so let's build that match right here. So we'll do match this name, and then we'll look in here. So maybe we'll start like this. And then we want exact match. So that gives us column 5. So column 5, So we're starting with B, however. So we need -1, or we could start at B. There we go. So there's 4. So that'd be column 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's check out what student 2 would do. There's 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like that'll give us the correct column. And so let's go ahead and check this out. I'm going to copy that formula there. And then here we'll do a comma and then we'll do column. And the great thing about this is this string, we can use an ampersand to concatenate or add something else. So for example, at column 6, and we're having an error because I only went to D. So let's do this. Let's just get rid of that D entirely. And let's see what happens. So now we're pulling column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 6 for student 2. So let's see if 24 and 19, 24 and 19. Now let's change it to student 1, 20 and 18, 20 and 18. So a little bit of magic, and now we have those showing up. I'm going to do a little quick formatting here. Like this. And then I think I'm going to change these to this other font as well. There we go. So now what we need is that percentage. So we could get it from here if we want. And we could do that by adding another little bit more logic. So if we want to add more to this select string, we can do another ampersand. And then we'd have to do column and then do this again. Now this time it's giving us an error. You can only select that column once, and it's because we have column 4 and column 4. We need to do +1. And now we have that result. So now we have test 1, exam 1, just like that, with those appropriate results. Let's go to student 2, and there we can see now we have student 2 results. So we're pretty much there, and if you only needed the percentage, then this would work perfect for you. Then we could do an overall grade just like this, average, and average up that column there. Or again, remember this is a simple average. If you want to do the straight average, then you could just do that sum of the number correct divided by the sum of the questions. So you can tell 84.4 or 85. So there is a slight difference in the way that you calculate that percentage. So I'm going to delete an extra row there, a little extra room. Maybe I'll resize this one to 10 or something like that. And then let's resize this one as well, maybe 12. All right, so the only thing remaining left to do is to take this percentage, and if we select something else here, we want to get our GPA or our letter grade. So let's just start with selecting letter and see how we can convert that here. So first of all, we can convert this. And so we have this average. And again, whether you use the simple or the straight average. And all we need to do is actually look it up in here and return our result. And so let's just do that real quick. So VLOOKUP, or you can do XLOOKUP, either one. And then let's go to our grading scale. And then we'll select our rows here. And then this one we can do on a VLOOKUP, you need the index, which is the number of columns, kind of like what we did with the match. And it starts at 1, so 1, 2, 3. And then we do want a sorted match. And that gives us a B minus. So our original was 85%. Look here, 85% would fall between these two, which is a B minus. Let's see if student 2 has a different result. Yep, they have an A. And so their average was 95.5. So if we look up our 95.5, 95.5 there would be A. That's perfect. Now the only thing is, what if we want to then toggle between these and be able to see the different results, because this is fixed. So all we have to do here then is a simple switch. And then what we're going to do is reference this. And in a switch, you can look at a cell or expression. And then in this case, we could do something like if it's GPA. And in this case, it'd be true. So let's go ahead and start with our percent. And then what we'll do is our average. Let's do our average here. And right now we're going to have an error because it's not selected. But if we go back to percent, then there it is. And so let's pick our next one. That's going to be easy. We'll do letter. And then let's do our VLOOKUP of our average. And so we'll rebuild that real quick because I did not save it before doing this, but I can build this pretty quickly. 3 and true. Just like that. So now if I select from percentage to letter, now it changed from A. If I go back here and change it back to percent, now it's back to 955. And then now if I go here and go to GPA, we still have an error, and so we need to add one more for that GPA. And so that's going to be very similar to this. So I can go ahead and do this, copy and paste. And then what we need to do here is instead of going to E and returning 3, we need to go to F and return 4. So that's all I'll do here. This formula is go to F and return 4. Now, there's something off here because this is 390%. And so it should be a 3.9. And the reason why is Google Sheets doesn't always do super well at being able to convert between all the different things. And so what we're going to need to do here is wrap this with text. And then we're going to do 0.0 just to convert it to that. And so now let's go ahead and check out. Go back to percent, for example. That's reading correctly. So if you have any more issues, you can add even the text here and change this to, for example, 0.0% and do it just like that. So however that ends up working, whatever you need to do there, you can do, and that'll work just like that. And so now for here under grade, we basically need to do the same thing. And so we could just do something like this and then copy this down. And then we just have to tie it to this percent score here instead of the average. So that could be one way you could do this. Just like that. And then if we drag this down, the only thing is our reference here will change from E3 to E4 and so forth. So we would want to lock this by hitting F4 or basically adding a $sign before the E and the 3. And then we'd also want to lock these so those don't change. And then if we drag that down, there it's showing up correctly. So we could do that, or we could do a formula in here that will scan down the whole thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and just walk you through building that, and then we'll wrap up this video. So this is going to be a little more complex formula. I just wanted to show you how you could build this here as well. So what we're going to do here is an array formula. An array formula allows us to scan multiple rows. So what we're going to do here is if G9 to G is equal to blank, we'll do nothing. And that's what I'm saying here. So some people will like to put something like 2 double quotes or something like that in here to note do nothing, but you can just leave it blank as well. So whichever is less confusing to you. And then what we're going to do here is we can't do a switch inside our array formula. So what we'd have to do here then is if this cell is equal to percent, then we can do our score, which would be G9 to G. And then we'll check our next one. So I'm just going to copy this instead of going back and forth. And so if it is letter score, then we'll do that lookup. And so I'll just do a text thing so for filler. Look up letter. And then finally, if this is a GPA, or we could assume that it is and just do it here. And so this would be GPA lookup. So now we can close that out just like that. And there we go. Now again, we're having similar error like we did here. And so here I'm going to do that as well. And so I'm going to do that text here and do that 0.0%. And again, if you don't want a decimal place on that percentage, you can just remove that and just do 0% like that. So that's really up to you what you want to see displayed there. And the same thing over here as well. You can decrease decimal places or increase. The reason why I can do it from here instead of doing it inside the formula is I'm changing this to text, whereas these are the actual numbers. And so we can do either of these just from there. All right, so now the letter, we need that lookup on the letter. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, bring that in here. So I'm going to replace this. And then here, I'm just going to get rid of that end reference and then get rid of that average, because this one I want to look row by row instead of doing the whole thing. So row by row, I want to look, compare, and pull back. Let's check that out. And so that's our letter one. So let's check out if that works correctly. The letter, and there we go, AA. Let's check out student one. There you can see that is working correctly. So finally, we just need the GPA lookup. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that same formula here. I'm going to copy it with that text wrapper already in there for the format. And then I'll replace it right here. And again, I need to replace this average. I just need to take that part out and let it just look at the rows. And there we go. So now if I go to GPA, there is our GPA. We go back to student one, you can see those GPAs right there. So that is it for today's video. Make sure to check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.